All right, one of the really beautiful and unique things about Hardanger Fiddles is the fingerboard. These are all unique works of art, typically inlaid. This one has some abalone, some mother of pearl, some bone, and it looks like they even used some purfling strips. Typically geometric patterns, but this is an integral part of the instrument. Unlike a violin, you won't ever just swap off a fingerboard. But these also get a lot of wear and tear from regular use. Now, this one wasn't too bad, and I've actually done a lot of work on it already. There's just a little bit more. A couple things that you'll commonly see. First, so the strings on the Hardanger fiddle, these are the traditional ones, especially on this D string. You see it's a gut string that's loose wound with metal. Now that is especially brutal on the fingerboard. So you'll very often see grooves, especially on the D string. Now this one hasn't been played a whole lot, so it didn't have any grooves. But what it did have, all of these different materials, they over time, seasons and humidity and temperatures change, they move about and everything. So you'll get a little bit of unevenness. Some things might start poking up. It just won't be a nice smooth feel. Now, most Hardanger fiddle music is played in first position, so this is the really critical area right over the neck. But while we're making corrections, we can go ahead and do the entire fingerboard. Some things that you'll do, I have two types of super glue here. First is the really thin. It's basically like water, you can see. That's if anything's coming loose or there's any tiny gaps. Go ahead and just seep some of that super glue in. It'll wick in and help stabilize that. If you have a groove starting to form, you don't want to sand this all down. As you can see, it's only the top layer, maybe about 1 millimeter or so. And so if you sand too far, you're going to wear through all that pearl and bone and inlay. So what we do is you get some thicker super glue and you can fill that groove, fill any other grooves or sunken surfaces. And just do that with super glue. Let that dry, and you can use maybe some wax paper to kind of help smooth it out. It might take a couple coats, but yeah, go ahead and let that dry. Then what I'll do is I'll just take a scraper and I'll kind of scrape any excess glue off. That's hopefully brought it back up to about where it should be. At this point, I have sanding blocks. So another thing you'll notice with the Hardanger fiddle, curvature is very flat. And that's, again, intentional. It's up to the maker exactly how flat they make it. And so a couple options. This one happened to fit. This is a sanding block for a bass fingerboard. So you can see a 95 millimeter radius. This one happens to fit well on this, and this is just 320 grit sandpaper that's got a stickered back. So I can go over that, draw, hatch lines with a piece of pencil, and then go over that. That makes it really nice. Oh, before you do that though, you want to take a cello bridge is really convenient, just an old bridge. And this part is unsupported. And so if you're sanding and you get over this part, you're going to be pushing on that, and that's going to sand differently. It's going to push down on it. And so we actually want to support that part, and I just stick a cello bridge in there, just barely enough to fit. You don't want to wedge it in there because that again pushes it up, and if you do push it up and wedge it in, when you pull it out, it'll kind of fall. So I just put that in, a really loose fit, This one happened to work well with a 95 millimeter radius. I have a cello sanding block as well. You can make these as well, but it might be impractical to make one for every single different curvature you run across with a Hardanger fiddle. So you can also just use a flat sanding block, again 320. With a Hardanger fiddle fingerboard, there typically isn't a scoop like there is with a violin, and so you don't need to worry about getting the scoop. You can just go straight across and you should see pretty even wear on your sanding block until all those cross hatches are gone. Once you're done sanding that, we're done with the shaping, but you may notice that there's still some scratches that are pretty visible, especially on the pearl. Now that's pretty common, and it's less forgiving, or shows up a lot more, to have sanding scratches on the pearl. And if you have metal in the inlay, that'll be especially obvious. So what I do is I just have this series of micro mesh. I start with the 1500. You can look up tables of equivalent grits. I think this is about the equivalent of 600 wet or dry sandpaper. And I just have this foam backing block. This is still in there. And take just a little drop of mineral oil and start polishing that. Go a couple strokes all along the fingerboard. I'll usually wipe off in between each grit, but just a simple matter of working through the 1500, 18, 24. You can buy these just in a set. It's like 3-inch by 4-inch pieces, 6,000, 8,000, goes up to 12,000. And that gets a really nice polish on the fingerboard. So that'll even out all, the sanding will even out all the grooves and any pearl that might be starting to stick up. And then we polish it and have a nice, beautiful playing surface restored for the player. And that keeps the original artistic value of the fingerboard from the maker as well. Okay, there we go. Beautiful fingerboard, all nice and polished. Make sure you take a look at it from different angles and see how the iridescence of the pearl changes. One more thing that you can do to really make it pop go. This is just a Mohawk fill stick in black. You can also maybe look for Grit Laskin. He's a phenomenal guitar inlayer. Grit Laskin filler. But this is basically like a crayon, and if you really want to make it pop and fill any little micro pores that might still be in the, especially in the ebony or between the pieces of pearl inlay, you always want to do this after you've done the kind of final polishing. Otherwise it'll get into any little cracks that you have. But anyway, you can rub that on. If it's built up too much, you can take a popsicle stick and then just a piece of cardboard, basically, kind of rub it all in, or rub it off. And that's just one final little thing you can do to kind of make it all really stand out, really pop, fill in any irregularities that might still be around. Has a beautiful smooth feel to it now. This is going to be such a joy to play, rather than all the little kind of micro bevels that pop up from just over time. So that's a good thing, to always just dress a fingerboard regularly. As the different pieces expand and contract and behave a little bit differently through the seasonal cycles, and just restore that really nice playing surface. All right, enjoy your fiddling.